Matt.
And I'm Guy. And this is your home for everything Alberta independence, broadcasting live 6 days a week at 5 p.m. Let's get into it.
Well, today at 12, because as we mentioned, we have something to do tonight. And the city is chaos right now, Mexico City, right before the World Cup. So you have to leave like 3 hours early before you have to get anywhere. So that's why we're doing it today at this time.
I will say we do have some construction upstairs. So if you hear some drilling and stuff, it's not us, it's our neighbor.
Yes, exactly. But first of all, thank you so much for joining us today. Please do subscribe. It is what helps us out the most. Also, we try to read, and probably today we will be able to read all your comments live after each segment. But if you feel so inclined and really want your comment read, you can always super chat us. And also, we have memberships.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll start by saying hello to Troglodyte and to Don, whose messages for some reason I can't bring up. But hello. Thank you for being here. And Silverfeet says hi as well.
Good to see everybody. Thanks for joining us on a Saturday.
Yes, and at this time as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's nice out there in Alberta, but let us know what the weather is like right now, too.
Let's get right into Stay Free Alberta if we can.
Yes. Oh, hold on. No, my button. We do the button first.
Free old Alberta, where the roots run deep and the money trees grow.
And exactly, let's start with from Rise of Alberta says, quote, since 2007, over $330 billion has been extracted from Alberta and redistributed to other provinces. Alberta works, Ottawa takes, everyone else stands around collecting.
Yeah, and they're only going to continue to do this. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse every year. A lot of the projected budget had come out all the way up until 2030. It doesn't look good. It looks like trillions upon trillions upon trillions they're going to spend. The longer we stay with them, the more we're going to actually have to pay out if we ever do decide to leave, or if we decide to stay. We're going to be responsible for how much Ottawa wants to spend. Alberta wants to have a fiscally responsible conservative government. We voted conservative for the last 93 years here. And that's one of the big benefits going into your own independent nation. Hopefully we can make a long-term plan so you don't have a liberal government, conservative government constantly trying to undercut one another.
And not only that, but also a transparent government, especially particularly transparent with money, because even currently there's interesting deficits going on and interesting spending going on with even Danielle Smith's government, who kind of promised initially that that's not what was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, she's spending massive amounts of money. That being said, there is massive amounts of money, so we wouldn't run a debt if the federal government wasn't taking billions upon billions to pay welfare payments and remittance payments to the rest of the provinces.
But at the same time, let's go see who we are up against.
Oh, God, I forgot I put this one in here. This one was actually pretty good.
I can say it. Retard Finder says this is who we're up against. These retards can't understand basic concepts. So your stupid smug face and neck says it all. Of course, more immigration means less housing availability. It's common sense.
They don't even have replies anymore. They used to say, immigration is good. Immigration is good for GDP. Immigration is good for this or that. But all of those have been shown to be falsehoods. And they were really just trying to import a new voter bloc for their progressive liberal policies.
The idea of blaming our housing crisis on immigration is absolutely wild to me, actually.
Well, that says more about you because you've got an extra 10, 20 million people coming in the country.
Do you think that if we...
think an extra 10 million people is going to have an effect on housing?
Do you think that if we lock down our borders, we're going to solve the housing crisis?
Well,
is that going to solve it?
The thing is, the more people you have in a country, the more houses you're going to need. I know it might sound...
He's really good at explaining things like this, isn't he? The idea of...
He's really good in explaining things like this. No, this is the most basic kind of common sense. The fact that the federal government and multiple nations around the world tried to sell this scam to all the people, and now it's being seen through on a global basis here.
Well, also 2 + 2 to them equals 5. So at least they would think that, well, if we get more 2s, then there's more 5s, and it actually duplicates the amount of space you need to get people in.
Yeah, and no, I don't think just shutting down the borders is going to solve the problem, especially in countries like Britain, where you've just opened up the floodgates. You actually have to get rid of a lot of the migrants that have come there as well. Millions of people on refugee status just isn't going to happen. You're going to have a housing crisis going forward. So no, just shutting down the border isn't enough. We actually have to start deporting people on top of that.
And again, in places like Canada, but even in the UK, they just started importing people without even thinking about the infrastructure needed to do so, which is why their free healthcare systems are collapsing, their housing systems are also collapsing. There's not enough space to put people in. And of course, they started by funneling them into cities, and cities were already at the brink of collapse because of the restrictions and regulations they themselves impose on him. Next, Jason Levine says, quote, I love how much free advertising Corey Morgan is getting, a modern marketing genius. Because CTV News Calgary says, Town of Taber says it has nothing to do with billboard sign fueling separatism debate.
And we'll take a look at that in just a sec. Thank you to the real Stephen Jensen for the $5
Thank you so
super
much,
chat.
Stephen Jensen, for the $5, saying free Corey Morgan lawn signs at the Whistle Stop Cafe. Would love to meet you here. And yes, they are also over there in the Whistle Stop Cafe with Corey Morgan. Speaking of Corey Morgan, Corey Morgan's lawn signs too.
Yeah, there's a bunch of places he's going to be giving them out. So the Whistle Stop is one. We advertised the other place the last couple days.
By iFly, yeah. By iFly.
Yeah.
Yes, there. Today as well from 11 to 3 p.m.
Yeah, so go out there. If you do get a lawn sign, if you can donate, he's going to spend all that money on printing more lawn signs, buying more billboards like we're just going to show. He's doing a fantastic job to be the first to move within Alberta independence. We really need to get that messaging out there right now.
And especially for people that continue to wonder and ask, well, what can we do? Who can we support? Where can we donate? Well, this is an actual avenue where you can start moving towards.
Yeah, let's
as
go back
other
to
things
that.
continue to solidify. But yes, as Jason Levine was saying, again, CTV News Calgary says the Town of Taber says it has nothing to do with the billboard sign fueling separatism debate. And we also showed yesterday that people were saying, oh, don't go buy corn at Taber, etc.
You're going to need to click on that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You can just leave it on the screen while you click.
There.
Yeah, this is good. So yeah, this is the digital billboard that's driving up all the controversy. They're going after the mayor, writing memos saying they need to take this down. They're going after the individual that actually owns the billboard. It seems like they're not going to back down. The billboard's going to stay up. And again, we got a lot of free advertising for this. So this one billboard went a really long way. I mean, we've reported on probably 5 or 6 stories regarding this one billboard from the mainstream media already.
And it's also heartening to know that out of a very similar anti-billboard campaign, a whole conversation was started and continues to go on with Billboard Chris. For example, the whole reason why Billboard Chris wears a billboard on his own body is because the city of Vancouver prohibited him from putting up a billboard that said, I love J.K. Rowling.
Oh, it actually said, I heart J.K. Rowling.
Right, I heart
It
J.K.
didn't even
Rowling.
say love.
No, it just had a little emoji or like a little heart instead of saying I love J.K. Rowling. But all of that spurred Billboard Chris and actually gave him the ability to continue to talk about the mutilation of young children within Canada and the rest of the world now as well. So this can also help as free advertisement, even more than I think the ones that are going against it and even thinking about.
Well, it's very interesting because a lot of people have edgy billboard campaigns so they can make the mainstream media and things like this. This is not an edgy billboard campaign. This is about as generic as you can get for an Alberta independence sign, and yet it is making headlines across the nation. So great job on Corey Morgan there.
And I do kind of want to say like, oh, just wait till you see what else will be coming. And I really hope we can have even, more shocking billboards coming up.
Oh, I should have grabbed it, but Jeff Rath had a pretty edgy post today with Jason Kenney. It was imitating Miley Cyrus nude on a
the wrecking ball.
on a wrecking ball.
As Jason Kenney has done continuously.
I didn't grab it. I thought it was a little bit too edgy for YouTube, but
Yeah,
man,
YouTube
check
wouldn't
out
like
Jeff Rath's account if you get a chance.
But next, Wealth Mood says, quote, Mark Carney has been the smartest guy in the room 3 times, 3 recessions followed. Let's talk about the pattern nobody in legacy media will. And again, we have highlighted what he did over in Britain and what he has done in Canada repeatedly as well. And yet they continue to say he's the smartest economist. He's not an economist, he's a banker in the world at the moment.
Strong personal view that as the international order will be rebuilt, but it will be rebuilt out of Europe. And so I'm very appreciative of the symbolism of this invitation. Thank you. Strong personal view.
That's the bet that he's making, that Europe's going to emerge out of the dust and be the world leader. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's falling apart. Manufacturing from Europe over the last 10 years have already cleared out to the United States. They don't have the energy to rebuild their manufacturing base or anything else. The only thing they have is economists and bankers over there, and they just keep printing money, and it's a big hoax. They're shifting around money like they're actually making a product or actually doing something. They're not. Their product is mass immigration at this point.
You want me to go down the...
No, but it's obvious Mark Carney is banking on the EU. He's bringing Canada closer and closer to together with the EU. I think that's just going to be more devastating for Canada. And ultimately, I believe the EU's going to probably rely on Canadian natural resources at a certain point to bail them out. He should be connecting himself to the United States. He is in the Western Hemisphere, and that is the game plan for the United States going forward, is to bring the Western Hemisphere into the golden age.
And as we're seeing, again, more and more coalitions forming and building within the rest of the continent, except for some reason, Canada all the way at the tippy top, but the rest of the continent is kind of all getting in line and aligning, some faster than others, but we showed yesterday. I mean, now even in Colombia, things are looking up for the more populist right-wing candidate, as have many others across the rest of Central and South America been winning in elections and even in local elections as well. The only ones left will be Brazil, and which is coming soon, and then Mexico, which we can't change till 2030, but there's strong sentiments here as well, let me tell you.
Yeah, Brazil and Mexico are going to be extremely hard, because even if we get a right-wing president, they're most likely not going to get a supermajority, and you're going to need a supermajority because all these other nations that went right-wing had supermajority so they can clean out the court system, and it's the judges. Every leader that has got in and said it is the judges. It was an absolute job to kind of reform that. In Canada, we're seeing that right now, especially in Alberta.
And I mean, there's a reason why in Mexico they took completely over the judicial system. It's completely now dominated by the current party in power. And it seems very similar situation, except less people noticed in Canada, that happened in Canada. And we just saw with that judge that didn't let us have an actual referendum. Stephen Jensen says, chance of thunderstorms this afternoon. Thank you for bringing up the weather, Stephen Jensen. William Rebel says, howdy, Nat and Guy. And we'll go through a few of your comments and then into Alberta politics.
Yeah.
Troglodyte says, just look at Brampton house prices. Anywhere house prices, essentially. I mean, right now, even in British Columbia, if you know about a little bit about British Columbia, there's like a small town. There's small towns outside of even the bigger cities, an hour or two away. And now even in those little towns, the house prices are insane. So I think it's just going to continue to get worse and worse as they continue to let more new Canadians in of different specific stripes. Troglodyte says, Tabor Fear, corn. I'm going to have to say, but yeah, exactly. Troglodyte says, these people complaining are just branch Covidians. Yep. And not the smartest either. And Tall Talks says, howdy again, Nat and Guy. Hello, and thank you for being here as well. And you're back, so we can go into Alberta politics.
Yeah, let's do it.
He doesn't discuss federal politics. He only concerns himself with Alberta's independence.
Let's start with this from Rebel News. Everything's loopy today. Rebel News says, quote, NDP leader, the new one, Avi Lewis, has advocated for a network of government grocery stores across Canada, a proposal his campaign estimated would cost taxpayers approximately $300 million annually to operate 50 locations nationwide. And it's not like New York hasn't already realized that this doesn't work with Mamdani's idiotic plans that had to be pulled back quite a bit. But also, we know what a socialized healthcare system, for example, does. Why do we expect the same government to be as efficient as they are with healthcare as they would be with food?
Well, I definitely think this is where Canada is headed, whether it works or not. They're already treating the food banks like their grocery stores. Massive amounts of funding is going in there. I think they'll probably pull money back from the food bank, try to invest in government grocery stores, and it's going to be an absolute massive failure. This is communism at the forefront of Canadian politics here.
And again, we already...
And Avi Lewis, people are turning against him on a mass scale, especially the NDP in Alberta. People do not like the new national leadership of the NDP.
Well, because they're retarded. And after looking at their little convention, I mean, even less confidence, I think that would give to anybody that at least still supported the NDP for the fact that they were for the workers and for the unions. I mean,
well, they were always the far left party. The problem is the Liberals became the far left party. So now the NDP are trying to go even further left. This is full on communism. There is what they're pitching here.
and again, it's not like we don't have the examples already also of other countries that have gone full on communist, like Venezuela, where you couldn't even get loaves of bread sometimes, or you got rations. It's essentially what you get at government food stores. And it's interesting either how easy we forget about history or how fast we want to go towards something we don't even know how it fully works.
Yeah, you combine government grocery stores with digital currency. That's the system they're going to right now, but they need a digital ID to underlay it all with. And we see that kind of starting to roll out within Alberta as well.
And again, we've seen it already in China. Again, another communist hellhole. We've seen how they're able through social credit scores and social credit scores and digital IDs to manage what people can and cannot buy. I mean, not always specifically with grocery stores, but with technology, for example. Some people are not allowed to buy certain types of technology either during a few months, years, or just completely restricted away from it because they might have other plans to use it for actual freedom. So this very, very similar things could happen. Again, we're seeing the push to stop people from eating meat. We're seeing what's going on with them wanting to make fake meat as well. So maybe you'll only be able to buy fake meat or be given fake meat at these
Government grocery
stores rather than the real thing.
Yeah.
That could be another option. And again, this sounds very dystopian, but it's not like we don't have the examples already where they're trying these things out.
You don't even need to say it sounds dystopian.
It is.
The MAID program within Canada has already approached far levels of dystopia. So a government-run grocery store where they're selling certain kinds of meat that are genetically modified would actually be a step down from what they're doing in the MAID program in Canada.
True. Again, just yesterday, Mark Carney was very proud about how much transplants they're able to do where he was giving a speech. Imagine why. But next, Rebel News Canada has a fact check that says fact check Treaty 8 chiefs in Alberta. Why is everything moved? Are demanding that Premier Daniel Smith call off the referendum scheduled this fall. They already were able to call off the actual referendum that was scheduled, but.
Oh, are you going to read it?
Oh, Alberta fact check. Well, it says
Sorry, I was waiting for you.
Well, it says the same thing. There is no duty to consult Indigenous chiefs for a non-binding referendum.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's not. And even in a binding referendum, there is absolutely no duty to consult. And I mean, Canoe over in Manitoba even went a step further, saying we need to get a full consensus before they can go forward with any projects. This is ridiculous what's happening. They're just making up law out of thin air and then challenging it in court. And then drawing out the timeline. We're looking at a 2 to 3 year timeline after this non-binding referendum. We're going to need to step up to the plate, shorten that timeline, take over the UCP, kick out Danielle Smith, and get somebody in there that will call a binding referendum and ignore whatever the federal government says and hold that referendum in a timely fashion.
And again, we're being too Canadian about this. This only can continue to happen if the people continue to accept it and go along with it. Mm-hmm. Why are we still accepting it and going along with it?
I mean, what happens
It's
after
insane.
October 19th if we have a large majority with this non-binding referendum, and then we have a leader that will actually call a binding referendum, and then the government tries to stop it through the court system, and the leader says, no, we're going to hold the referendum anyway. What are they going to do? Send in the military there to stop a binding referendum? I don't think so. And then we'll have the result there.
Well, but again, they're already trying. Danielle Smith is already talking again about removing firearms from people.
And then based on the result of that binding referendum, we can just declare a unilateral declaration of independence. And that really puts the federal government on its back foot to say, either you're going to recognize the binding referendum that you didn't want, that you try to challenge, or you're going to negotiate. And you probably want to go into negotiations rather than just have us leave.
Yeah. But again, I continue to ask, why do we continue to put up with this?
We're not.
The citizens.
We're not. That's why.
At the end of the day, yeah. As relevant,
I was saying, never mind. Okay.
As relevant says, quote, if Alberta left, it would suddenly be as rich as Monaco, and Eastern Canada would have a low-carbon, anti-American future it's always dreamed of. Because Blaze says, quote, Canada has two economies, Alberta and then all the rest. So Alberta is the one in orange, that's the only one that's going up, and then all the rest are the ones that are going down. And that would be Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia.
Okay, we can go into comments if you want.
I thought you were going to say something about it. No?
No.
Okay, let's go into comments and then we'll continue on to Alberta Personalities. William Robel says, in many areas of the rural U.S., that's a hard word to say, house prices are quite affordable. Again, because it's managed quite differently as well. People in the U.S. complain all the time about housing prices, but it's very different once you look elsewhere, specifically if you look up at your neighbors in Canada, where it's getting insane.
Yeah, it's completely artificially inflated within Canada to an extreme that's far beyond the United States.
If Calendar says, hello, Max, how are
good to
you?
see you.
Says, communists are always going to do communist stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Communists will communist till the end of times. Troglodyte says, where I live, average home price is 1 million plus, ridiculous. And if I remember correctly, you're in BC. And again, we know, because that was another one of the reasons why we decided to escape Canada, because we realized we could never actually have a home or a family there.
Yeah, you're looking at a small one-bedroom apartment costing $600,000-$700,000 within Vancouver. It's absolutely crazy.
Talatalk says, it's a quote, to consider judges as the ultimate arbiters of all constitutional questions is a very dangerous doctrine indeed, and one which would place us under the despotism of an oligarchy, said Thomas Jefferson. Wise words that we've quickly forgotten as well. Troglodyte says, when the government is feeding you, you live under communism. Well, in Canada, in a lot of senses, the government is already feeding us. Again, a lot of people worried about their CPP, and I like what Mike said. Maybe the priorities should be different. Talatalk says, Harper did a bad job appointing federal judges, more proof that he is a globalist at his core.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now he's rejoining with the rest of the Federalists in the Conservative Party, too. Troglodyte says Harper signed on to globalist UN agendas. Exactly. And a lot of people just let it go because he was the conservative one, and then came in the worst one that was Trudeau. Troglodyte says, and Harper is Pierre's mentor. Well, there we go. Saltius Maximus, hello, how are you? Says, you guys work Saturday as well? You don't stop working, do you? Cheers.
No, but we're cutting back to just the 5 p.m. broadcast going forward, and then we're going to make edited videos, scripted videos, things like that. I think it's going to be a little bit more effective.
And Talatalk says, sure, PP and the CPC messaging is globalist if you really listen to what he says. And because he was able to convince so many people that what he was saying sounded good because things were so dire, a lot of people just kind of stopped fully listening to what he was saying, at least in my opinion. And nothing over RUMBLE, but let's go into Alberta Personalities.
But they need to understand that Albertans are done, we're leaving, and there's no more conversation to be had. I know that's upsetting to people.
And, hold on. This one also got moved. Starting with Harrison Faulkner that says, Canada is rapidly losing farmland to urbanization and development. Every single day, Ontario loses 319 acres of farmland. The country loses 2,700 acres of farmland. Once you build on farmland, it is gone forever. You can't replace it. This is a crisis that basically nobody is talking about.
Yeah, and although he doesn't support Alberta independence, he's bang on here, and he's bringing up a lot of conversations that do help Alberta independence overall. And this isn't going to change in Canada. They want to bring the population up to 100 million. There's going to be virtually no farmland that is left there. There's already a massive lack of farmland within Canada, and I believe he's going to go into it here.
There is a crisis happening in Canada that basically nobody is talking about. Every day, Ontario loses 319 acres of farmland. That's the equivalent of a multi-generational family farm being lost forever, permanently. Across the country, that number is 2,700 acres of farmland every single day. Most people will look at a map of Canada and presume that we have endless amounts of land to farm on. That's false. Only 10% of Canada's landmass is arable, and less than 1% of Canada is
And it looks like a lot of that is actually in Alberta and Ottawa.
considered prime farmland. Ontario is home to 50% of all of Canada's prime farmland, like this land behind me. Prime farmland just an hour and a half north of Toronto. The Department of National Defense purchased 700 acres of this prime farmland to build an Arctic radar system here. To complete the project, the government is going to have to purchase an additional 2,000 acres of prime farmland right here. This is all despite the fact that the government already owns thousands of available non-farm land. So what's actually going on here? Once you lose farmland, it's gone forever. It can't be replaced, it can't be regrown, it's just simply gone. And the pace at which Canada is losing its prime farmland should be alarming to everyone. Now, the worst part about all of this is that the data I've just given you is from 2021. Since then, Canada's population has skyrocketed, and the pressure to build, pave over, and encroach on precious farmland like this has only increased. This is about food security. This land is a national resource for Canadians. This is not a joke. This is extremely serious.
And especially because the population of Canada, they want to get so high and they actually have so little arable farmland. They should be protecting it.
Oh, sorry. You're going to keep going. And yes, and thank you to Harrison Faulkner for pointing that out. And at the same time, maybe Canada isn't that concerned of losing all this farmland and the ability of people to be self-sustaining because now they're making meat in labs and probably will continue on to vegetables and everything else, while they continue to impose restrictions on the few farmers, especially the family farmers, that do know how to do these practices and actually grow food for people.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Yesterday, we were talking about the insanity that it is that now they're promoting and even lamenting that Canada doesn't yet have a full system of lab-grown meat made out of cells that replicate themselves, similar to cancer. But now, should we go to your comments and then...
Yeah, what section are we in right now?
Personalities.
Oh, that was personalities.
Harrison
Okay.
Faulkner was the personality.
Okay.
And I'm glad that he, again, is pointing that out. There's few, and I'm like him and Ellie Kinton-Nantel, whose interview will be coming out next week. The last interview we have for a while before we go on the hiatus, I guess, of edited videos before we start ramping up again. Those two are doing incredible journalism that we don't see anymore from mainstream media. And I'm glad that they're keeping that tradition of real journalism alive.
Well, and all these Western countries, all of Europe, all of Canada wants to start outsourcing their food to other countries in the global market. This gives the government massive control over the people controlling the food like that. We want to have family-owned farms supplying a large number of local grocers and things like that, and then have industrial farms within the country to back that food supply up.
But incentivizing that, because it's also community building. When people rally around a farm and depend upon each other for different things, well, that brings back the aspect of community and interaction amongst people themselves as well. But William Rebel says, in late summer 2020, I bought my home here in rural Texas for $100,000, 30-year, 3% fixed, and I was a little disappointed that I didn't get a lower rate, 1,900 square foot, 180 square meters, ranch style.
Oh, fantastic.
Maybe we should go over there and look for a ranch style there. Eventually, as I said, my plan would be to buy like an old, essentially a ranch that is falling apart. There's many of them here in Mexico from pre-colonial to actual colonial times, and kind of rebuild it and make it into something and get 2 cows or more and some chickens. Okay, should we go into Alberta's Canada?
Yeah, let's go into Alberta's Canada.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people.
And let's start with from Wealth Boost says, quote, the USA is building gigawatt AI data centers. China is deploying 50,000 GPU clusters. But in Canada, we're making sure our AI strategy is sufficiently indigenous-led. We're not serious people. Because Carlson Bradley says, fun fact, Canada's new AI strategy includes the word indigenous over 6 times more than GPU.
More than it mentions the word GPU. Yeah. This is absolutely ridiculous. And they want to be a global leader here. That's not going to happen. And a matter of fact, I would rather have the government stay out of the business of AI, of anything. If another country owns it, they don't have direct control over the citizens in that country. The Canadian government does. They can literally reach out and touch you. So if a private corporation somewhere on the other side of the world owns it, I think they have less effect over you than your own government.
And also, yesterday we were showing that even within the metro system in Toronto, they're bringing in Indigenous-led everything that just stymies any kind of productivity or growth. They're wanting to put like pictorial depictions of beavers and moose for people that can't read or don't read. But then in AI, what would that look like? And what does that mean? And again, how much productivity will be lost? Yes, I don't love the idea of having the government be involved in AI, especially after seeing that they're also now involved in wanting to surveil you 24/7 in any way possible, any way they can. So what would that mean for an AI? Would they be able to restrict every other AI from coming into Canada because this is Canadian owned and Canadian led and Canadian made, very similar to what they're already trying to do with streaming services, for example?
Yeah, Microsoft's completely changing their hardware and their interface to how everything works, where they want to monitor everything you're doing as well. This is just another layer of privacy being eroded.
Get ready. Alberta, separate soon. But from the Globe and Mail, hold on, says quote, opinion, Carney wants to speed ahead on AI, but can he take Canadians with him?
Yeah, and people just don't trust the government, number one. They definitely don't trust Mark Carney, especially after what happened with the jibby jab era, the truckers convoy. I mean, we can go on and on and on, sealing documents, turning off cameras, and a lot of these political meetings that the public should have access to. Why are we going to trust you with AI? The fact of the matter is we're not. I think he knows we're not. He's going to invest trillions in it, and it's just going to line his buddies' pockets, as well as if he does eventually build an AI system, he's going to have to force people in there by banning other AI systems out of Canada through having through having a closed system of the internet.
And while I'm not a huge proponent of AI, and I have no qualms about saying it, that I don't love the idea of everything being AI-ified, I guess is the way to say it. Alberta could once again be that independent Alberta, could be that mirror to what Mark Carney would be trying to plan and do with AI, where Alberta could bring in the free marketplace of ideas and kind of let the best ideas and best technologies win, while in Canada, they completely, once again, socialize and then make into a communist society by just allowing the government one to be the one that you can use.
Well, and again, the space program is just another example. They can just piggyback off of SpaceX, which has the cheapest way to get cargo up to space, but instead they want to spend billions upon billions of dollars on a Canadian space program that's never going to get up and running.
And then this is an interesting story. I'm guessing it's a little targeted towards me for some reason. But CTV News says, quote, conservatives called heartless for pledging to block bill banning energy drinks for minors.
Yeah, and you need a certain level of freedom within your society. Now, I don't like energy drinks, Nat does, on the other hand. That being said, it's up to individuals what they want to do with this stuff, and parents need to kind of step in and parent their children. It's not up to the government to parent their children.
And very similar to banning for example, the banning social media for under 16s, but that then lets you and allows you to get a database of everybody's ages and everybody's identities just to make sure that the under 16s aren't getting on there. Well, how do they plan on doing this? And what are the implications, again, for specifically parental rights, I would say, because they keep trying to erode parental rights by saying, no, we as the government will take care of it. We give us your children and we will manage them, instead of reinforcing the ability of parents and for parents to parent their children.
Well, that's why they want both parents working full time. So you have to give them to daycare, the schooling system, and everything else. Parents aren't even parenting their children because the government has set up a system where both parents have to work full time.
And I continue to say, in an independent Alberta, I do think it is important to incentivize, but also give the opportunities and have the circumstances where young people can start looking towards having a house again, having children, having a community, producing things by themselves. And again, having this community aspect where farming, for example, is seen as a worthwhile career opportunity and actually worthy for the rest of society as well, rather than your last ditch option that your grandfather used to do and you don't want to inherit the farm anymore. So you sell it off and it becomes an AI data center.
Yeah.
That's a very dark version of how I see things. But lastly, CTV News says, again, everything moved around. CTV News says New Brunswick still struggles with the worst literacy rates in the country. What needs to change?
Yeah, it's obvious why. Do you know why this is?
Paulo Freire and the fact that they removed the way reading is taught.
I was looking into the statistics of this, and this came up in the context of Britain, the EU as well. It's mass immigration again. Children are coming in. 40% of them within the UK can't read because mass immigration, and then they pitch it as all the kids can't read. No, it's a very specific demographic of kids that aren't learning to read here.
And again, the equity strikes again because you have to bring everybody else down rather than, separating those that can.
Now they can't read, so now we need to bring animal crackers into the subway stations. We want pictures of animals because people don't know numbers and letters anymore. It's absolutely ridiculous. The global standard is alphanumeric for public transit. And yeah, we kind of showed that story yesterday.
Yeah, but I mean, but I will also say, because initially, when you asked me what do you think this is, I said Paulo Freire, probably phonics, and replacing phonics with different ways of learning and modes of reading and learning. That also, I think, has affected, but compound it with people not being able to think critically about what they read because they're being taught not to. They're being taught to see everything through their own lens of oppression, which is insane. And in Canada, it's already happening within the school system and has been happening for decades now, adopting Paulo Freire. One day I'll make a video about it because it's very interesting how literacy rates have declined all over the Western world because they've adopted these essentially Marxist ways of teaching and learning, specifically reading and critical thinking. But compound that with now people that and students that are coming in and can't read at all. But now you have to bring everybody else down within the class to the level of those that can do the least, because you have to be equitable and you have to be fair to those. And now there's no, of course, grades anymore. Everybody gets into university. There's no standards because that's racist, apparently. So that's the state of affairs. But within in an independent Alberta, we've also talked a lot about how important it would be to re-solidify the education system, because otherwise you can't have a productive and proper society anymore. But now we'll go into your comments and then into Alberta and the world. Troglodyte says, it's so obvious when you see government overreach here in BC. In small farms with any livestock, in the name of safety, they will eventually come for your animals.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily they're even going to come for the animals. They just want to put so many inputs on those animals that it's extremely expensive to raise an animal. So if you try to sell it in the open market, it's just not going to function, especially when people are crippled financially.
Mm-hmm. And Max from Freedom Calendar says, Canada is not a serious country. It's watching a massive daycare. It's like watching a massive daycare with adults sitting with suckers and glued to their phones.
Yeah.
And again, stay distracted, stay watching your phone, and don't be aware of what's going on around you and how they were encroaching upon you. Troglodyte says, Jacinta Ardern said, come to us for the truth, effing Orwellian.
Yeah, she's now leaving New Zealand and moving to Australia because she gets so much hate when she walks around the streets.
And William Robel says, Canada is one giant assisted living center. Yeah. And charging you for it as well. Saltius Maximus says, not everyone can escape Canada to the US. Our best option was Alberta. And we continue to say that as well. Troglodyte says, kids can change genders, but not have an energy drink. Make it make sense. And again,
yeah, I know. I didn't even think about that aspect. That's completely true.
Mutilate yourselves, but don't you dare have Red Bull.
Yeah.
Too much energy for you. Oh, but they can also be prescribed SSRIs when they're 7. They can also be prescribed essentially speed if they have ADHD or just behave like a normal child. Now that becomes an ADHD diagnosis, and they're prescribed speed when they don't even need it. Saltius Maximus says, one of my favorite independent reporters was hacked. Real and Lee had X taken over. This is what happens when you expose China-Canadian corruption.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've seen quite a few people get banned off of YouTube for exposing China. I noticed anytime we used to do a lot of videos on China, instantly throttled.
Yeah. And Troglodyte says, and that's why they are so intent on crushing independence, Saltius.
Yeah.
And he says 100%. Definitely. But now, where were we? Let's go to
Alberta and the world.
Oh, we're going quick. Let's go to Alberta and the world.
Short show today.
Interestingly enough, speaking of Billboard Chris, and I didn't even bring it up on purpose, Billboard Chris says she's right, as was George Orwell. 90% of the disagreement and nastiness I experience on the street comes from young women. Female empathy gets hijacked by leftist propagandists who control our schools and universities.
Talking about women's issues instead of transgenderism, because when we talk about trans, we talk about men. Bottom line, though, the most backlash that we have received has been from young women. They are the ones sending, messages all the time saying we're disgusting, we're embarrassing, worse, saying that they wish we were dead. They call for the ban of the society. They say that I shouldn't be allowed on the university campus. A female academic has basically, tried to launch an investigation into me saying that I make women unsafe. All of this, the COSW stress tested one of the oldest institutions in our country. And I can tell you that the people who really do pose a threat to freedom of speech, the people who truly will be extreme when not even that push to do so, are often young women. So don't always blame the boys. A lot of the time, it's the women that we should be concerned about, because it's that push left that I think is truly radical. Talking about women's issues.
Yeah, and it's that mother syndrome where they're completely overbearing. And you see this in the voting patterns as well. They'll always vote for security rather than freedom and independence.
Mm-hmm. And safety.
As a block.
And if you can propagandize women enough with the necessity for security and safety over freedom and independence, well, then they'll continue to try to encroach upon others' liberties as well. And it is that misplaced mothering instinct that, I forgot if it was Camille Paglia or who else was it, but that continues to be brought up as the hijacking of the mothering instinct that women have biologically, even though many don't want to admit it, gets used by entities, and now mostly the left, who have realized how useful it is to hijack it and use young women and have that mothering instinct thrown against their causes and for their causes rather than for their children, because they've taken those away too. Next, American AF says, UK police tell citizens to, quote, run away and hide if someone is trying to attack them with a gun or a knife. FFS.
Yeah, very interesting. Let's take a look at this real quick.
Currently in the UK, the threat level is severe. This means that the attack is highly likely.
In the event of a firearms or weapons attack, run if it is safe to do so. This is the best option. If you cannot run, hide.
Please call 999 only when it's safe to do so. Thank you.
And fight back is not even an option there. If you do, they're going to arrest you for it. And we seen the last time somebody tried to run, they got assaulted 5 times with that knife and ended up dying. And then they told the police, "Yeah, I've been stabbed." And would they say, "No, you haven't, mate," and they let him die on the street.
But what is that the best thing you can do?
What?
Like not fight back at all?
Sometimes you have to fight first before you can run. So,
But because I know, I mean, if I try to fight, that wouldn't end up very well for me. But we're also seeing this.
It's not gonna end up well for you if you try to run either. You can't run. So
true.
A man's always gonna usually run faster than a woman. So.
Yeah. True. But I was looking at Brett Cooper actually made a video about what's been going on with this like rise in attraction again for actual masculine men and masculinity, and a lot of examples where we're seeing men that know martial arts or jiu-jitsu or whatever standing up and actually solving a situation where they would have usually been chastised. Now they're getting praised online. Specifically that guy that used, I think it was jiu-jitsu on a plane to handle someone that was trying to open the plane, the door to the airplane midair. And now women are all flocking and to his Instagram and his DMs and saying, "Oh my God, I want to go meet you. I want to go to Chicago." Apparently that's where he is, to meet you. And we're seeing, at least in the US, this appreciation for actual masculinity and people that can defend you, and an admittance in a way as well by the same women with the mothering instincts of maybe I can't save myself in every circumstance, and maybe the police won't get there in time or won't care enough, as we saw with Henry Novak, about me, and will let me just bleed out to death. Speaking of, from Basil the Great says, quote, "When you see the difference between how the police reacted to George Floyd compared to Henry Novak, it's honestly disgusting."
So they have all taken a knee.
Yeah, and the difference is just apparent there. 2 different ways to approach this, even in the way of policing. I mean, it was a complete failure because of the way the police officers are trained.
And how quickly do things change as well? Yeah. I mean, that was only a few years apart, too. But now we'll go into the last 2 comments and then over to RUMBLE. Freedom Calendar or Max says, "I miss the way Trump said China." Well, I think he just hasn't been saying it as much, but I'm pretty sure he still says it the same way. But yeah, I mean, and the way he talked about it as well. Tralodite says, Orwell said that, quote, "women were the most ardent supporters, the swallowers of slogans." And again, it is because it's a biological impulse in a way as well to do what's best and what's most protective for you and your own. But then if you don't have your own, then you're just worried about yourself. And if they're able to propagandize to you that the most dangerous things that will work in conjunction with whatever plans they have to acquire more and more power, well, then they have you hook, line, and sinker as well. Saltius Maximus says, "LOL, men who want a woman will entertain her beliefs to get what men want. Women have serious influence because," but then you didn't finish right because, but yeah. And we're seeing that tendency as well. I mean, men that just go along to get along, but then years down the line, they get married, they have children, and they realize that their values are completely the opposite.
Yeah.
And we used to talk about this a lot too.
Yeah.
Because I do see it as a big problem in society.
Okay, let's go over
Well,
to.
should I wait for Celtius to finish his
Well,
comment?
you write it over on RUMBLE. Okay, well, we'll be back on Monday at 5 p.m.
Yes. Before you head over with us to RUMBLE, we have 3 stories there, so do come over, please. Don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube. There's a 30-second wait screen, and then we'll see you over there.
Adios.
Let's get ready to